What an amazing feeling it is to realize before you've played a game that it's going to be a classic. After the introduction to Ori and the Blind Forest, my expectations were sky high and this game handily met them. Dashing through the air and leapfrogging off enemies to sail across the yawning chasms will forever be a part of my gaming memories. But as fun as this game is, well, you know me. I can't help but to analyze the game's literary value. But I admit, I wasn't sure what to expect considering this is ultimately a fairy tale, a genre whose themes aren't always that challenging. Fortunately, my analytical appetite was sated because even though this game's story is charmingly straightforward, it's a hotbed for themes and ultimately offers a prescriptive meaning that teaches us all how to live a happier life. So once upon a time there was a dolphin named Soul Porpoise and he was thrilled you could join him because we're going to look at Ori and the Blind Forest and see how even a fairy tale can teach us all a method on how to live a better life. To call Ori and the Blind Forest a beautiful game is not doing it justice. It's stunning, and not just visually, thematically too. The game is strictly set in nature. There's nothing man-made in this forest, and there aren't even humans. So borrowing from a culture that many of us strongly associate with holding nature in reverence, that is, the Native American culture, was smart. In particular, we see things that are borrowed from the Ojibwe culture, which was and still is one of the largest Native American tribes. In the game, cave paintings that have these two-dimensional features can be found if you're looking for them. While they're always adorable, they pull at the heartstrings after you realize what's now lost. And while they brilliantly serve this narrative purpose, they also closely resemble the cave drawings that have been found from the Ojibwe tribe. Also consistent with the Ojibwe culture is the use of the dreamcatcher that hangs over Ori's bed. This device, while popularized recently, began with the Ojibwe. Finally, there's the fact that the villain in this game, Kuroh, is an owl. In Ojibwe myths and stories, they see the owl as being associated with death, and Kuroh certainly delivers on that end. And Kuroh being an owl connects the Ojibwe beliefs, but it also connects the game's theme of light and dark since owls are nocturnal animals and Kuroh, in this story, represents darkness. This isn't to mention that Kuroh's name, translated from Japanese, means black, and on the tail end of that, Ori's name, translated from Hebrew, means my light. And while I'm probably not breaking any ground by pointing out that light and darkness are themes in Ori and the Blind Forest, I think it's important to note exactly what they represent. In fact, it's clearly presented to us. And now that light and hope and darkness and fear are linked, Ori and Kuroh are also linked to these emotions respectively. They even have you associate darkness with fear in this remarkable sequence where you're hiding from Kuroh. The longer time passes from the moment she notices you, your fear intensifies, and as the tension builds, the background gets darker. And here's where the brilliance of this game's writing really pays off. Hope and fear are not directly good or bad in themselves. These emotions can be perfectly benign and never manifest into anything more than feelings. What's important is what's done with these thoughts. Hope can inspire one to be kind, and fear can inspire one to hate. This is how we see these emotions manifest, and with this subtle wording, we see one of the most interesting themes in the game, the theme of cause and effect. It starts with Ori, who causes Gumo to change his ways after Gumo was inspired by Ori's kindness. Again, we see this with Gumo when he is inspired by Sen and Ori's conversation about bringing back the light for the memory of the Guman. And with this, there's this idea that actions don't happen in a vacuum. They affect all that's around them. And this doesn't just apply to light, it applies to darkness as well. As we learn from the backstory behind Kuroh, she's blinded by hate after her 3 children are killed. She now only has one goal, and that's to destroy the light, fearing that it will kill her last child. And the fact that she's described as being blinded by hate works with this theme of cause and effect as well. Because her blindness is caused by darkness, which works metaphorically and literally. On the metaphorical level, her hate is caused by the fear of losing her child, and her fear is linked to the darkness. And on the literal level, well, light is a prerequisite for sight. Without light, we would all be blind. Cause and effect continues, as Nibel's blindness is caused by Kuroh's darkness, because Kuroh steals Sen, who's described as being Nibel's sight. And with that, as the title and narrator explain, the forest also becomes blind. With all of that said, we find this isn't simply cause and effect. There's an ecosystem of light and darkness. Light causes there to be more light, and dark causes there to be more dark, and the effects of this aren't necessarily able to be predicted. And using a forest as the game's backdrop acts as a brilliant setting for this theme because forests are delicate ecosystems. Ecosystems where every living thing relies on other living things, and any disruption of this ecosystem can carry on past just one group of animal. This on its own is an inspiring message, but consider the significance of the Dreamcatcher we talked about earlier that hangs over Ori's bed. The Ojibwe have a meaningful story behind it, and it fits in perfectly with the game's message. They explain that the webbing in the center will catch both good and bad dreams in the night's air. The bad dreams will be caught in the webs, and the good dreams will trickle down the feathers into the dreamer below. The fate of the bad dreams is to be stuck in the webbing until sunrise, where daylight will destroy them. And because the game explains that the sun's light is the same kind of light of Nibel, we understand that they both fight off the darkness. It's a beautiful symbol. It expresses that there needs to be a catalyst to eradicate the darkness, and that catalyst is light. And it fits in with the game's ending. Because to me, Kuroh being reminded of her child through seeing Naru's love for Ori struck me as a bit odd. At least the part about her instantly changing her ways struck me as odd. But after considering it, it solidifies the game's message, and it's remarkably inspiring. It helps us to understand that we're not born under the influence of darkness. It's something we allow ourselves to be conditioned by through our past. But light also enters our lives through kindness, inspiration, or whatever else. After that, we have a choice. We can remain loyal to the darkness and let it destroy our light, or we can, like the Dreamcatcher, trap the darkness and use the light to remove it from our lives. Because light is our catalyst, a tool with which to separate ourselves from the darkness. And we should, because darkness only leads to more darkness, and light leads to more light. Well, the light for me is appreciating just how much I love this game. So now I'm inspired to make this video, and I have sincere hope that the cycle continues. Because, well, our ecosystem is delicate, and I think we could all agree that it could use just a little more light, no matter how tiny that light may start out. This is Soul Porpoise, and thanks for watching.